Okay, I don't have much time, so I'll make this brief. This video is basically just a rant, so bear with me, or choose to skip. But here goes. The United States is a service-based economy. We don't make anything anymore. Not really. Not like we used to. But then again, why would we? It's not green after all. Making things takes not just time and energy, it takes resources, food, water, it takes fuel, not to mention the exploitation of labor. So we don't make things, and we don't really need to anyway, because we outsource to other countries like China. And those countries have become very wealthy because of us. And that means that we get things for cheap. We get cheap goods. But over time, the quality has gone down. And we've learned how to adapt to having the appearance of things. We've learned to lower the bar, lower our standards, so that we're comfortable with not having something, but having what looks like something. Partly because we millennials and every unviable generation there and after, we aren't as successful as our boomer parents and grandparents. So we make do with the appearance of something. Kind of ties into ContraPoint's opulence video. And so it's almost like we've been conditioned to the appearance of something. So that in the gaming world, for example, there's an economy based on appearances. It's called skins and reskins. And it's actually pretty lucrative. Some people will go out of their way to spend hours, days, weeks playing a game to earn these skins, the appearance of a new costume, something to show off to their friends. So I kind of think about that when I look at some of the cheap, shoddy clothing that is meant to resemble something that is of much higher quality. It's very disappointing to me, and I don't buy it. I just don't. I'd rather save up and get the real thing. But millennials don't do that. They're more comfortable with appearances. And where I'm going with this, we want to go green, and I think that going green, by the conditioning that we've gotten, right? We want our consumerism. We want to have things, and we're willing to shop regularly, to have the appearance of something, even though it's going to be trash. It doesn't last any time at all. But let's go green and keep that habit without the waste. And so this ties into what I've talked about, I believe, before, about augmented reality. I think that that's going to be the future of the American economy, and maybe even the world economy, as the world stops producing as much to save resources and all that, save the planet. But it makes the businesses very wealthy because you never have to produce anything. We're already kind of doing that anyway when it comes to our music, when it comes to our movies, it comes to any intellectual property, to video games even. We don't own these games anymore. You can stream games now. You don't have to own anything. We're being conditioned not to own property, sort of leasing property, have access to property. We're seeing this happen even in rent-a-bikes and rent-a-scooters. With Uber, affordable transportation, where you can just go anywhere. You don't have to own a car. So it used to be with consumer economy, keeping up with the Joneses, everybody was motivated to get the latest model. We don't do that anymore because we're millennials. We're a failure. So now we want the appearance of such, or we want just access to these things without having any responsibility to it. Millennials don't own houses anymore. They rent now. They rent condos and apartments. So I think all of this is leading us towards, it's conditioning us and leading us towards socialism. Not the socialism as has been envisioned by some of the greater philosophers, some of them misguided, but something not all that different from perhaps what China has, which is state capitalism. And I think that's concerning. I don't like the idea of not owning something, partly because I might need it later and I won't have access to it, especially if everything's digital. If everything is digital, and then electronics go out, you're screwed. That terrifies me. I want to have what I need when I need it. I want to have a car when I need it. And if you knock out electronics, you just can't get anywhere. And maybe you're like, well, even if you did own your own car, let's say EMP hits, your electronics are knocked out, you can't drive your car. Well, depends on what kind of car it is, how old it is. Maybe you can change out certain parts. But if you don't own your own car because you've been conditioned to not own your own car because of how cheap it is to rent or to pay for a service like Uber or Lyft, or using any of these scooters or bicycles, then you're screwed. That's how I see it. I really don't like how vulnerable that makes us. But it will make these businesses very rich, because they can continue to generate content without actually having to expend any investment on resources. And maybe in the short term, that's not such a bad thing. It might help to generate some jobs. It's definitely going to kill a lot of jobs. It's going to hurt the automation apocalypse that we're hearing about, especially from Andrew Yang with his UBI. The automation apocalypse isn't just going to affect us. It's going to affect the whole world, and we need to be prepared for that. I think that those of us who are wise will start investing in real stuff, buying their own stuff, instead of expecting those services to always be available. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. I just wanted to rant about this, and I'll talk to you all later.